Hi, this is Regina Thomas, and today I'd like to explore with you a contemporary of Giuseppe Verdi, Amilcare Ponchielli. Ponchielli was quite the child prodigy. At 9 years old, he had won a scholarship to study at the Milan Conservatory, and at 10 years old, he had written his first symphony already. So, really, an incredibly talented composer at a very young age. But what he was not so adept at was navigating the political waters of Milan. And so his early career was a bit disappointing. He was maneuvered out of a professorship at the Milan Conservatory that he had won at a competition. And he really struggled with a series of small jobs there in that early career. But he did, however, eventually work into a level of notoriety and popularity. He was extremely popular during his lifetime as a composer of operas. Now, the only opera of his that we still do today with some regularity is La Gioconda, the cheerful girl. Now, you might think from that title, it's a funny, lighthearted thing, but no, that's Italian irony. It's a tragedy. And it's a big tragedy. It's Italian Grand Opera, which is basically the Italian version of what French Grand Opera is. It's a big opera with lots of roles, and it has a ballet in it. So it's on a very large scale. It's really quite unique in its casting as well, in that there are very few operas that include major important roles for all six of the major voice types, which is what Gioconda does. There's a major role for soprano, mezzo-soprano, contralto, tenor, baritone, and for bass. They all are very important to the production. And this opera was the most successful opera during that moment in time that it was written. And that was kind of in between when Verdi wrote Aida in 1871 and then when he wrote Otello in 1881. So right in that time period. And really, it has all the earmarks of a successful Italian opera of that era. There was a tumultuous love triangle. There was political unrest in the form of the Venetian Inquisition. And there was also this debt of honor that had to be repaid at the end. And last but not least, there was a body count. Yes, bodies did fall at the end of the opera via poison and stabbing, etc. So the story is a little convoluted, but I'll give you some highlights. The title character, Gioconda, is in love with Enzo. He's a nobleman who's been exiled. And Laura is also in love with Enzo. But Enzo, while he's been exiled, Laura was forced into an arranged marriage. And when he comes back, he's disguised as a sea captain. And he's trying to get Laura to run off with him. So this is kind of the setup for that. At the beginning of the opera, we see La Cieca, who is blind, and she is Gioconda's mother. A mob is ready to attack her because they think she's a witch. And Laura, Gioconda's rival, saves her mother. And her mother gives her a rosary and her mother's blessing. So at the end of the opera, even though Gioconda is trying to win Enzo for herself against Laura, because Laura has saved her mother, Gioconda helps Laura and Enzo run away and escape Laura's husband. And just to be the icing on the cake of this glorious opera, Gioconda stabs herself to avoid being victimized by the villain of the opera. So we have produced a recording of that famous contralto aria, Voce di Donna, which is La Cieca, placing her blessing and giving the rosary to Laura there at the very beginning of the opera. Incidentally, the most famous tune from this opera is not one of the arias. It is, in fact, from the ballet, and it's called The Dance of the Hours. And it gets its modern claim to fame because Alan Sherman adapted it to his song Hello Mother, Hello Father, which is the letter from the young person to his parents about how miserable he is at summer camp. So I invite you to enjoy our production, our video production of La Cieca's aria Voce di Donna by Ponchielli.